Welcome back, everyone. This is Weird Wolf Unchained, where we talk about horror movie stuff. We're doing another With the Kids episode. We just got done watching Paranormal Activity. Oh, introductions. I'm Bran.
Robbie. Sarah.
And like I said, we just got done watching Paranormal Activity 2. I'm going to do a little bit different than I did last time. So this is going to be a little bit spoilery when we do these, because I'm going to let you guys just kind of summarize, all right?
Okay. So it was almost right before the first one.
Yeah, it definitely takes place before the first one.
Yep.
And what happens? What's going on in this movie? Tell me the story. Do you need me to get you started?
Yeah.
So the movie opens up with baby Hunter coming home directly from the hospital is what's implied. And we get a tour of the house, and then it just kind of keeps going around and stuff, and they're recording things, and then all of a sudden it's a year later, right?
Yep.
What happens to... Then what happens that makes them want to put in the security cameras?
Um.
Did you guys make it out? We still have... I got speakers, so it was a little bit better than normal. Talked about that in the follow-up to Paranormal Activity 1. But it's still kind of hard to hear the talking sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Even I knew what was going on, and I still, couldn't really make out what was happening. So there's a break-in in their house. Or it seemed like there was a break-in anyways, right? And
oh, yeah, all the furniture was flipped over.
Everything in every room was just demolished.
Except for one room.
Which room?
I forget. Hunter's
room?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. I missed that part. So, this kind of, all right, we need some security cameras here. And there we go. So that's our setup for how we have this as a found footage type film. Right? Cool. And then what happens? We don't need every single little detail. Just kind of give us a little bit of...
So, the dog that protects Hunter, he notices every night it's there.
Most of the time, yeah. But let's try to keep it a little chronological. So, we have some weird things start happening, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And one of the nice things with this one is some of this stuff happens during the day, right?
Yeah.
Hey, that's one of our first instances of...
the cupboards flying open?
Okay, that's later on. Hold on. We're doing a summary. Night 1, not a lot happens. The next day, I think, is when we get the... What are they called? Feeding seat thingies that Hunter's sitting in. She pulls Hunter out and it falls over. So that could just be that he got caught, or maybe the demon pushed it over. Right?
Yeah.
So, just like the first movie, things get progressively worse. Somewhere around 21 days again, I think. I don't know. I stopped paying attention to the date and the night as we went on.
Things were a lot weirder in this one.
Yeah. So we also find out pretty early on that this is Katie's sister, right? And her family.
Yeah.
So in the family, you have Christy, who's married to Daniel. So obviously his wife. The mother of Hunter, but not the mother of Ellie, which is Daniel's daughter. So again, not being able to hear it very well, even though it was Ellie speaking. There's a point in the movie where she's talking to her dad about the haunting, and it's a little bit earlier on that maybe it's not a bad spirit, maybe it's her mother. So what does that tell you? that her mom probably died.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Dad remarried, so that's why Christy isn't Ellie's mom. She would be her stepmom. So yeah, we learn also in this one that, or we get a little bit more in depth that this is stuff that happened in the past, and even though it was hard to hear, I know what happened. So anyways, yeah, we just keep going through the nights. You know, things keep happening, getting worse. Christy ends up possessed. And then what?
Just like how Katie got possessed.
Okay, so Christy was possessed. Then what happened?
She was knocked out, and no. Then it went into after the first one, like the day after.
But what happened to get us there? You were right. You were on the right path.
And she becomes unpossessed.
How? Was it clear with what was going on the screen? Or did you not know because of the audio?
I think it was because of the olive oil.
Okay. So, that's another person we forgot. They have a maid who's named Martine, and she's into pagan spirituality. Probably something along the lines of, or aligning with her Mexican heritage, because we see her smudging the house, which is taking a bundle of sage and burning it and driving away bad spirits, right?
Yeah.
Or unwanted spirits. So they call her back, and she's like, we need to do this ritual, and we need olive oil, and we need this cross, and I'm pretty sure it's a very specific wooden cross. And did you see the part where they burn the picture?
Yeah. So it's the same exact picture, not just a different copy.
Yep. It's the same picture that Katie finds in the first one, right?
Yep.
I have some issues with that myself, but whatever. So then the poop hits the deck, right? Poop hits the fan and goes crazy. And they finally get Christy cornered and tracked down and kind of trap the demon in the cross or attached to the cross, is what's implied there, is what you're supposed to get away from that. And then they give the cross to Katie. And after Katie gets the cross, then that's when the weird stuff starts happening with her. Does that all make sense now?
Yeah.
Does it make sense how it ties into the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why you have to watch the first one first, and then this one, because I'm going to make that rule. Because the way this one ends actually kind of ruins the first one. But then we cut back to where the first movie opens up, and then it kind of gives us a timestamp fast forward, or a title card of this happened on this date. That's Mika's death. And then it picks up the day after. And
Katie.
All right, so hold on. So how much of this did you see?
I saw I forget his name.
Dan?
Yeah.
When he's chilling on the couch?
Yeah.
Did you see the part where Katie was standing behind him? Did you see the part where she got directly up behind him? Is that where you stopped watching?
Yeah.
Okay. So Katie shows up and breaks Daniel's neck. And then she goes upstairs and she shoves Christy really hard. And that's supposed to kill Christy somehow. And then she takes baby Hunter.
And how did she leave?
She just left. Doesn't really matter. Like, you just showed her pick up Hunter and walk away, and then it said Katie and Hunter's whereabouts are unknown. And then it said that Allie came back a couple days later, or yeah, on the 12th, because she was away on a school trip and found the bodies. I have a problem with that too. I'll talk about that bit more in my other episode. So, that's a decent enough little summary, I suppose. I have a couple real quick questions that I want to ask you guys before we get into the real tough stuff. So, did you notice the pool cleaner at first?
No, I just thought it was something floating in the pool that they left in the pool.
Did you notice it?
Yeah.
Because it makes a point to show it at night, how it's floating around in the pool. And then the next morning on a lot of these, it shows him throwing it back into the pool. So it's one of the things I really like about this movie personally is the subtlety of it. How there's a lot of things that are very implied, or you really have to be paying attention to the movie to pick up on it, right? Oh, that question's for me about the pans when they fall. And we talked about it already, but did you guys recognize the cross when they brought it out?
Yes.
Because it's barely in the first movie. Like, the only time it's there is when she's holding on to it and clutching it real tight till she bleeds. Right?
Yeah.
All right. So those are the only, like, offhand questions that I had for you. So, let's get your general impressions. Go ahead, Robbie. So what'd you think of this movie?
I think it's a little bit sad in the middle.
Does have some really sad parts.
And I liked when the pool cleaner shot up in the air.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into like favorite parts and stuff here. Just, did you like this movie?
Kind of.
Kind of. Was it scary? Yeah, it scared the crap out of you, didn't it?
Yeah. Like, I was shaking through almost the whole movie.
And, like we said, you weren't able to watch the last part of it. How come? This is just because you were just so scared at that point?
I knew what was going to happen.
Did you?
Because of how in the first one she was so violent with Mika.
Kinda. And that is true. That Katie's death kinda is similar to Mika's a little bit. With Mika, she stabs him downstairs, that's why she's covered in blood, and then brings the body back up and throws it at the camera. In this one, she just very violently throws Christy. And we'll talk about that. So what do you think about the story overall? Was it a good story?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did it make sense for all that you could hear it?
Yeah.
It doesn't. Especially think of the first one. Do you think they tie in really well together? Or do you think they're kind of badly told together?
I think they kind of come in well together. Because there's a lot of the same stuff happening. Like, Allie mentions something about a figure standing at the foot of her bed. So does Katie in the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And Christy gets dragged downstairs like Katie does.
And Hunter gets dragged through his crib a little bit. And then you see the demon picking him up.
The biting.
The bite, which is how I don't think it's necessarily a full-on possession, personally. I think it's more of a control. Like maybe just a little bit of him. Because even after possessed, the demon still kind of does things on its own, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think? Do you think it was executed well?
Yeah.
What are your general impressions of it, Sarah?
I really, really like that a lot of the same stuff is happening, and weirder stuff is going on, like the nails rattling.
So, naturally, your sequels are supposed to be bigger and better, right? And this one definitely is. And
Yep.
I'm going to give you a spoiler. This is my favorite one of the whole series.
And I also like that part afterwards where it's the day after the first one. I like how it tells a little bit after the story, not just before the first one.
It gives a nice follow up and ties it in nicely.
Yeah.
As I said, spoiler, this is my favorite one. But as I was trying to say when I started that, you do see that the demon's a lot more powerful in this one, right? He's doing a lot more stuff.
Yeah.
And I like that because it implies that with the transference, he loses a lot of power, but also ramping up to the end after he possesses Katie, you can tell that this demon is not happy at all. And he ain't messing around no more. That's the impression I get from it. Because Katie just comes back, she's like, I ain't messing with none of this stuff. And gets people out of her way and just takes Baby Hunter. Because did you catch why she took Baby Hunter?
Because
Either of you?
Some people sacrifice their first male child for wealth to demons.
It's some lore that's dropped in this one. And I like that part. I think it makes it interesting and explains why these things are happening without taking away any of the scariness of it.
So the demon is going after Hunter.
Yep. And why is it still hanging around after all this time? Either of you remember? Did either of you hear?
No.
It's a conversation that Allie's having later on with her boyfriend, I think, where she's talking about how Hunter's the firstborn male since like the 1930s.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
So that's a long time. And the deal is that the firstborn male in the family, and that if a male isn't born, the demon continues to haunt the family until one is born. All right, Sarah, so what's your favorite part in this one?
I'm not sure. Because this one is really...
Or just your favorite thing? So, I mean, you kind of talked about it, how it repeats a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah.
But it also makes a lot of other things more weird.
And it also has a follow-up as well as before the first one.
So it's a pretty well-constructed story.
Mm-hmm.
I need to look into it before I do my episode with my buddy. But I want to know if they had this planned out or if they're just that good of a storyteller that, all right, the first one was really successful. We want you to continue the story. We want a sequel. And they decided to tie in with some more stuff. And we're just paid that close of attention to detail. What about you, buddy? What's your favorite part? You started saying something about the pool cleaner. Is that your favorite part?
Yeah, and also when...
So what happened with the pool cleaner? Tell us that first.
It shot up in the air and landed down, and when he took the hose out, and then it started shooting around like a sprinkler.
So that was a little bit of a scary moment, but also funny, kind of, right? Do you understand what he was doing there, though?
No.
So a scene or two before that, Christy is challenging him because he's still being skeptical about the haunting. So she's challenging him, why are you constantly having to throw the pool cleaner back in the pool every morning? You've done it for like 2 weeks straight now, and it doesn't seem weird to you? So he was messing with it to see if he could get it to come out of the pool. Because that's him trying to explain away. Because then the scene after that it's him trying to explain away how the pool cleaner's getting out of the pool. Right? That's his logical brain trying to act. Because in the scene after that, we see them fighting a little bit, and she's mad because he's not taking her serious. And it's a nice, interesting situation for us in the audience because you can be sympathetic to both sides. Like, he proved his point, but also as the audience, as the outside observer, we see that this stuff is happening. And like a little bit before that, we see that it is getting pulled out of the pool, not just shooting out, right? So it's just a nice, fun scene where nobody's right and nobody's wrong. What was your other favorite thing?
When the hot tub was like 100, I think he said 100 something.
I don't remember what he said.
But
I think he super exaggerated it and said it was like 1,000 degrees.
But I think it might have been in over its maximum heat. Maybe the demon was doing something with it.
The demon was doing something with it, but do you remember what Ellie said?
No.
She said that it only goes up to like 90 something. So it's got kind of a built-in safety feature that it can only get so hot, so that way it doesn't scald people. But why was this your favorite part?
'Cause it's funny 'cause he asks for a food and he uses peas or something. Yeah, and all he's using it for is cooling himself down when he could use an ice pack. What if they don't have an ice pack?
What if they don't?
But why wouldn't you have an ice pack?
Some people just don't. But it's particularly funny because of the part of his body that he's trying to cool down, right? Which is his groin area.
Yeah.
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 And it's supposed to be a joke. It's supposed to be funny. And that's why it is funny and why it works. Because it's a naturally occurring thing. It's how a lot of people would react. You know, that's a very sensitive area of the body. So that's why he would put the stuff there. I found the whole thing funny too. It was a good scene. What's my favorite part? I think it's the kitchen scene.
With the cupboards?
When the cupboards explode? Yeah. Because it made me jump the first time, made me jump this time, probably make me jump again later when I watch it. Because it has the rumbling, but when I first watched this movie, I was expecting all the pans to fall. And this time, I was waiting for the cupboards to open, but I didn't know how long it was going to be. So I'm just sitting there, tense, waiting for it to happen. So that's why it still got me.
That's why it still scared me with Paranormal 1.
Yeah. With the
sound.
end? When she throws Mika?
No, like all of it.
Yeah, because you're still like...
When's
well,
it gonna
that
happen?
and we had the sound, so it added that little bit of extra element. So, again, musical cues, it's telling you to be prepared for things.
It does it a little on this too. But it
does.
Also has the dog jumping up.
A little bit. And that's the subtlety. There's a lot of times where the dog's sitting there just watching the door, alert, like she senses that there's something there.
Oh, the door slamming is another thing that was similar.
It does mess with the doors a little bit. And it does enough things like the first one, because doors and a lot of this stuff is almost tropey in haunting stories and haunting movies because they're easy to do. And they're simple, and it's a good starting point. So who's your favorite character in this one? We got a lot of characters to choose from, so...
I don't have a favorite, but I can relate to Allie because that's how I would act in that situation.
Yeah.
And she is one of the younger ones, but
she is younger.
She's the youngest that actually understands things.
And she's kind of close to your age, so I could see that. What about you, Robbie?
My favorite character is the dog.
Good man. I like the dog too. This one's a hard one for me too, because all the characters are likable. All the characters are relatable. Even Mika's okay in this one because he shows up a couple of times. But I think I have to go with Dan because he's the dad and I can relate to him. I would like to have seen him put the baby down for bed another time or two. That would have been nice. But there's only so much only so much time, and we skip a lot of nights. So maybe he does put Robbie down more, and we just don't see it. But I mean, he's a good dad. He's trying to take care of his family. He loves his family. He's not a big jerk like Mika was in the first one. He's skeptical of it. He makes light of it and jokes a little bit. But there does come a point where, okay, I need to take this serious, and he starts doing it. Fortunately, it is at the end, but most of what happens before that is explainable.
And he doesn't really see a lot of it, like the cupboards exploding.
No. That one's understandable, though, why she doesn't say anything. She doesn't want to talk about it. Right?
Yeah.
All right. So, who's your least favorite character? It's okay to not have one, too. Like I just said, all these characters are likable.
Yeah. I don't think I really have one. I kind of don't like Hunter because, I don't know if he's fake crying or what, but it doesn't sound like real crying.
Fair enough, I guess.
I thought you were going to say he doesn't do anything. I was going to say
like,
that.
He's a baby.
But he does do things.
They might have had to add a crying track for Hunter to cover for times when he's supposed to be crying. So that might be why it doesn't sound right.
Something really weird is when Hunter's staring at the mirror in the back of the room.
That is weird, and it's supposed to be weird. He keeps going to his closet, too, for things, right?
But
he does it like 2 or 3 times because the demon's in there. Or that's what you're supposed to think. So yeah, I don't really have a least favorite character either. I mean, the first time I watched it, I was like, Allie, because she is Mandy from Last Man Standing. And while she does really good with that character's annoying, but this is a completely different character. And I don't actually dislike anybody here. And that's not necessarily what least favorite needs to be, but it just, again, they're all likable characters. They're all relatable in one way or another, especially to different types of people. So, good cast, good people, good writing. All right, what was your least favorite part, buddy?
Ooh, this is hard. My least favorite part was when Daniel just kept cussing and cussing and cussing and cussing.
At the end?
Yeah.
When he's down in the basement? Because he keeps tripping and falling and things are happening around him. A rat runs across the screen at one point and scares him. And
he can't find anybody.
So what was your least favorite part? Or hold on. Why was it your least favorite part?
Because I don't like it when people cuss.
Fair enough. Which is one thing that's kind of nice about these movies a little bit, is there's not a whole lot of that. Most of the R rating comes from how scary these movies are. Because they are intense.
My least favorite part is that one part where the timer goes fast. Because I'm like, I thought this was going to be all slow. All normal speed.
They did set that up pretty good. I like that they had that in there because that's a throwback to the first one. Because the first movie does a lot of the speed camera, and this one only does it like what, once or twice.
Yeah.
And they do time jumps a couple other times too, where like after Abby the dog gets hurt, I think the dog's name is Abby, I don't remember, but after the dog gets hurt and Christy's sitting on the stairs, did you pay attention to the time there
No.
and the jump cuts? So it's like 12:50 when they leave or around that time, and it's like 12:55, and it goes to like 108 when she's sitting on the stairs, and then it just jumps forward a few times in time to give you the idea that until like 1:30 or something like that. That's a really good way to do that too, because you see this time jumping and you see the jump cuts, so it's a little bit jarring and can make your mind start going, okay, what's gonna happen?
But I really like that it doesn't have a lot of speed time. Even when nothing's really happening.
Yeah. So, my least favorite thing was the inclusion of the picture
What picture?
of Katie.
Oh.
Like, it's a nice little setup for the end of this one, and isolated within this movie, it's okay. But when you consider the first one, then it brings up questions like, how did they get the picture in the attic? It implies that they would have had to break in there to put the picture up there. And it kind of undoes the creepiness from the first one for me.
Yeah, because I thought it was just a thing the demon saved from the fire.
Right? So then...
That would have been awesome if they kept it like that.
Yeah. Or if, the picture had burned up completely, because it doesn't burn up completely. Because, it could have been a copy, but now that it's burned in the exact same way, it kind of ruins it. I get it, because it was part of the spell, but it does make you have to ask that question, and it's one of the very few inconsistencies that is in this movie that is an inconsistency. That maybe they forgot about, or... whatever.
Yeah.
All right. A couple more. Did you think this movie was interesting?
Yeah. It was a lot scarier, and I like scary movies because they scare me.
Yeah. What about
I
you?
like being scared.
And don't just think about the scary part, like, was the story good and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, if it wasn't so scary. Okay. Which leads us, and I thought it was interesting. I kind of had an idea what this was before the first time I watched it, but watching it, it was still very compelling, kind of like Rogue One. Anybody who's familiar with Star Wars, when you saw what Rogue One was, you knew what that story was going to be. But they still managed to tell that story in a very interesting way. And this did the same thing, and again, it had very, almost perfect connections to the previous movie. And it introduced some more lore and explained why this is happening without taking anything away from it for the most part.
I noticed Chewie thought it was scarier too, because he didn't jump when we watched the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see his pillow shaking a little bit.
It got our other cat Kanan a few times too, but he's sitting like right over the sub, so.
He's sitting like right beside.
So, would you watch it again, Robbie?
No.
No, because it was really scary.
Yep.
And there's a bunch more of these to go, but I don't think they're quite as scary as this one. They're close, but they're not quite as scary.
I don't want to.
But I'll leave it up to you if you want to watch them. What about you? Would you watch it again?
Yes.
I will definitely watch this again. I have to, because I have to take notes. I wanted to watch it with you guys, like, mostly immersed in the story. This is a scary one. Like I said, it got me to jump a few times still, and I knew what was going to happen. Do you think you'd be willing to watch it down the road, maybe? After you're more into, if you ever get more into horror movies?
No.
No? We'll see. So, how scared were you? I think we kind of talked about this a little bit, but...
I was definitely more scared than the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's still moments for me where I felt a lot of tension, like, what's going to happen? I'm going to give a little bit of a spoiler for the future. The third one has my favorite part. Has the thing that I think is the most suspenseful. But you'll have to wait and see. What about you? How scared were you?
More scared than the first one. You looked
Obviously.
Absolutely terrified.
Yeah, you were really scared at the end.
Yeah, I did. And I did. At some point, I wanted to stop watching it.
I'm glad that you stayed to watch it all. But again, you don't have to. If something starts getting too scary, don't be afraid to walk away. Nobody's going to judge you for it, okay? Anything else? Alright, so... this one got me a little bit, which is good, because a lot of things don't normally get me. I'm very... inoculated, if you will, from horror movies. Like, I've just watched them, or desensitized to a lot of horror stuff. And I normally don't watch haunting stuff, because a lot of times they're not the best movies to watch, but these ones do a really good job, and so do the Conjuring movies, which we'll get to someday. And Insidious.
I think I found out why I like scary movies to be scary. Because they're supposed to be scary.
They are supposed to be scary. Alright, so let's wrap this up. What was the scariest part for you?
I don't know, really.
Do you want to come back?
Yeah.
Alright, go ahead, Sarah.
Okay.
Since you're bouncing in your seat there.
The scariest part for me was when Dan tried to give Christy the cross.
Mm-hmm.
And then
when they're up in the bedroom?
Yeah, and she was just sitting there. And then she attacks him.
That's a pretty good scare.
But another super scary part was when the nails were rattling. I was like, why is that happening? What is going on?
That's a good part too. And then it's followed up with Baby Hunter walking by. And your mind kind of goes, oh my god, something gonna happen there?
And I noticed like the paint can. And it had something on it. I don't know if it was paint. I don't know if it was there before Hunter before, or if it got there. I didn't know what it was, but when I saw it, I was like, is that blood or what?
Yeah, I don't remember that part. I must have missed it. Did you come up with your scary part yet?
The part when he tosses.
What made that part so scary for you?
'Cause all the lights went out. And he kept dropping the camera.
Yeah, he kept tripping over stuff, so it was very disorienting. And the lighting, because it's done in night vision, because of all the lights are off. And you don't know where anything is. You don't know where anybody is. So there's a good setup seeing the basement as a mess earlier in the movie.
That one was also scary for me when the rat ran past.
So there's jump scare there. Which, that's the other thing. These movies rely very heavily on jump scares. But it's okay.
Because it was so big. I didn't think it was a rat. I thought maybe it was Hunter crawling past.
Possible. So, scariest part for me was again the kitchen scene. Because it's a big one. It's a really good tension building moment. There's a little bit of misdirect maybe. Like there was for me anyways, like I said earlier. The first time I watched it, I was expecting all the pans to fall right in front of her. But then the whole kitchen exploded. And I was like, wow, holy crap.
That one might be my favorite part.
All right. You guys have anything else you want to say?
I thought in the beginning there was a cat, but there wasn't.
Nope, no cat.
Why did you think there was a cat?
Oh, it's possible that there may have been a cat and it was just there for that scene. I don't know. I don't remember a cat, but that don't mean nothing.
I really like that this one had a pet.
I do too. I just like generally that it had a lot more in the cast. Do you want to keep on with this series for the next time, or do you want to take a break and watch something a little less scary?
This series. I want to take a break.
You want to watch something a little less scary?
Yeah.
All right. So that was Paranormal Activity 2 with my children. It was a good watch.
Yeah, it was.
I like this movie again. This is personally my favorite one out of the whole series. It's just, the story's solid. It connects to the first one in a very compelling way. The scares are bigger and better. And it's understandable why, even though it takes place before. It's just, yeah. That's it. Thanks for listening. And till the next episode thing, whatever it is, enjoy.